Happy Halloween, fellow basement dweller. And in today's video, we will be covering poxwalkers. And this is the 7th and final point in my Halloween horror series. I'm very happy to be here. I'm very happy you're listening, and let's get into it. And ever since I got into the 40k fandom, there has always been something lurking in the shadows. Something I always heard a little bit about, but anytime I heard something about it, I had more questions than answers. And the more I learned about them, when I finally started reading the books and, and things like that, and short stories, novellas, all of that, anytime these would pop up, they always stood out to me as the most terrifying thing, not just in 40k, but in fiction. I know to most people, this won't be the most terrifying things, let alone in fiction, but in 40k. But to me, there was just something deeply in the uncanny valley and deeply wrong with poxwalkers. They terrify me. So essentially, you are in a hive city. Let's say you're a guardsman in a hive city. This hive city, you're a guardsman, you're doing pretty, normal stuff. Most of the time, any, uprisings or any, crime, gangs, that's handled by either the local police, PDF, or at the very, top of that is taken care of by the Adeptus Arbites, pretty much the space FBI. So you're not really doing much, you're just chilling. Your worst fears you get deployed somewhere. And so you're on this hive city for a few years. Just, mopping up the barracks, doing what you do, staying fit. Until eventually, things begin to feel off in the hive city. You notice that your once plentiful meals in the Imperial Guard have been cut to MREs and rations. As opposed to fresh sausage and eggs every morning, it is the same MREs or nutrient paste every day. Other supplies begin running low, like you have to start sharpening your own razor instead of getting new ones. Detergent, there's less of everything. All the supplies in your base are running low. And more and more the base is feeling emptier and emptier as more and more of your platoon are sent out to never come back. And eventually you begin to hear reports that some of the hive cities have begun to fall on your planet. And on top of that, the PDF and the guard that are leaving, you don't believe they're being sent out to help the other hive cities. You believe they're being sent into the underhives just for them never to come back, or for the outskirts of the hive city. And eventually, you are sent out there. And you go, and everything feels deeply wrong. Everything smells like the worst sewer you could imagine, worse than the normal underhive. Everything is just deeply wrong. You look at things and they don't look right. You are standing guard in front of an artillery position that is not currently being active, and you begin to see these people walking towards you. And they're just walking, they're not running. And you get the orders to open fire. You think these are just civilians, but you don't want the commissary right behind you to pull the trigger, so you begin to open fire on the civilians. And no matter how many you kill, they don't start running, they don't duck, they don't seek cover, they just continue to walk towards you. And no matter how many times you put shots into these people, they just keep walking. A person should be dead after a shot. A shot should be able to kill multiple people, but yet it's taking a dozen shots just to kill one. And it's not just your last cannons are shooting them, mounted bolt guns are shooting at them, and they still just keep shuffling towards you. Until eventually they get a bit closer. And you see that they're all smiling. And massive horns are growing out of them. And they continue to shamble and shamble. And no matter how many you kill, they're getting closer. And there's always more of them. There's endless amounts of them. Until eventually, you begin to heal them. And you heal their moans. Their horrific, twisted, once human moans that drive you insane. they begin to make their way to the walls, and after they reach the walls, you and your men keep shooting at them until the commissaries order you to stop, because all you are doing is use their own dead corpses to climb up the wall. At this point, you're just standing patrol, and you're sleeping, and even in your dreams, you can hear their moans. When you wake up, you hear their moans. Every second of every day, you hear their moans. It's the most horrific sound you've ever heard 24/7, and every day, there's another mile worth of them. There's just more and more every day. Until eventually, they don't break down the walls. They don't dig their way in. Their moans start turning people inside the fort. And the same twisted once men of mankind have made it inside. Not through digging, not through brute force, but by infecting your comrades with their disease just by their sound. Your entire base is wiped out within a minute. In hive cities, there can be trillions of these people. Hive cities can have a trillion people. And within a few hours at sometimes, at most a few weeks, will be wiped out by these. Poxwalkers are the most... I don't like them. It's not just... they're not like the Night Lords, Dark Eldar, or anything, or like normal zombies. It's just something so uncanny about them. The fact that you can be in the most fortified location imaginable, and their moans, their wailing, their screams can turn you. And what's terrifying about Nurgle, what's terrifying about the Chaos Gods, is the fact that they can't brute force you into worshipping them. If you have a strong enough will, you can just say no. They can't turn you against their will. Even, machine spirits, to an extent, can say no to being corrupted. So you, as, a human, can outright survive all chaos corruption if you have the willpower. But chaos is very good at eroding willpower. And odds are, if a lot of space marines, well-trained space marines, cannot endure that mental fortitude, then the average civilian, let alone the average hive scum, is going to fall in a second. And what's even more terrifying about Nurgle's Wat is the fact that your entire body will be decaying, and you will feel it. It won't kill you. Imagine leprosy on steroids. Your entire body will be decaying, and you will feel every little bit of it. But you won't die, because Nurgle Wat also won't let you die, but you'll be looking like this, just watting, just the most horrific thing imaginable, and you'll feel every ounce of it. And the disease is also weakening your will and your resolve and your faith to the Emperor. Meanwhile, you can get this to stop. Not only to stop, but to feel greater than you ever have. Never to feel pain again if you just submit to Nurgle. And if actual Inquisitors and Space Marines and well-trained Guardsmen fall to Nurgle's Wat because they know how to fight back, but they still fall to it, some random dude who doesn't know even what he's saying yes to, yeah, it's horrible. This was originally supposed to be a Chaos video, but I decided to particularly make it a Poxwalker video. It was supposed to be a Chaos video, then it became a Nurgle video, then it became a Servants of Nurgle video, then it became just a Poxwalker video. And Poxwalkers are just the worst. Like, imagine the worst zombies you can imagine. Worse than The Walking Dead, worse than World War Z, worse than Days Gone, worse than The Last of Us, and combine that with 40k having a tendency to have hive cities, which is pretty much Kowloon City, but the planet. Or at least a 10-mile by 10-mile Kowloon City that's also 100 miles tall. Hive cities by themselves are terrifying, but this is even worse. And on top of that, even if you have the most strong-willed people imaginable, like Inquisitors, Cadians, the most loyal, mortal humans you can imagine, congratulations. If you're in a fortress, they won't be able to convert you. Which they probably still will, even if you're an Inquisitor. But let's say they don't. It's still Nurgle. And they'll still Nurgle's servants. So eventually, and by eventually I mean more like a week, the door, a foot thick iron door will completely rust away. Thick, well-poured concrete walls will crumble in days. The entire planet, Nurgle rot in general, is just... Okay, when corn takes a planet, you can cleanse it, and we inhabit it. When Slaanesh takes a planet, you can cleanse it and we inhabit it. When Tzeentch takes a planet, it's a bit harder, but you can still cleanse and we take it. I do not believe there was a single Nurgle planet that has been like that has been, heavily corrupted by Nurgle that has been retaken. And now, despite what Darktide has shown you, it is nearly impossible to kill even a lowly servant of Nurgle, the poxwalkers. It is just... 4 crackheads are not going to be able to stop this. It is the worst possible thing imaginable. And on top of that, if you have enough of these guys together, they will attract the Death Guard. If you have a single Nurgle cultist can not only doom an entire planet to poxwalkers and Nurgle corruption, they will also... The Death Guard will show up when there's enough poxwalkers and everything to collect them and also to help doom the planet. And on top of that, the Death Guard also have the ability to straight up release the Poxwalker Plague on planets. That's probably why they're the most dangerous and one of the most well-stocked, one of the biggest Chaos warbands. Well, they're still pretty much a legion, but that's why they have some of the most amount of Space Marines, is because they can just dip in, release a handful of zombies or a handful of cultists, or just sit there, fight, and leave, and come back like a month later to have 90% of the planet be overrun with these horrific things. Or even they'll just send some random space junk that's infected with some Nurgle corruption, and some random peasant will touch it and will start the plague. And again, most people don't know what they're going up to against Chaos. Most people don't know Chaos exists. So a lot of times, you'll have someone who doesn't know what Chaos is. Nurgle will straight up talk to people and convince them that this is what the Emperor wants until they're too far corrupted and they, no longer have faith in the Emperor, just seeing Nurgle as the one true God. And that's the thing they will do, is Nurgle is a god of the downtrodden. Most people we see in 40k, they're following the Tzeentch, they're following the Slaanesh, they're following the Khorne. Most wealthy people fall to Slaanesh, most soldiers fall to Khorne, and most schemers and magic users fall to Tzeentch. That's a small amount of the population. The common everyday man will fall to Nurgle. And that's what makes it even more terrifying, is because Nurgle wants your poor and your downtrodden. Which, is 99.99999% of the Imperium. In fact, Nurgle is the weakest god. Not because he's the weakest god, it's because he keeps sharing his power, because he has the most followers. He has the most demons, he has the most followers, and he has the most Space Marines under his banner. It is terrifying. And on top of that, again, these guys are almost impossible to kill. And congratulations, you killed him. Now his guts are everywhere, corrupting everything around you. Some of his guts hit your wall and is burning through it. Nurgle is a god of life, and he is the only god who loves his people. I genuinely feel like they made Poxwalkers and just Nurgle corruption so awful because Nurgle is such a loving god to kind of counteract it, because we can't have anything good in Warhammer. And again, even if Space Marines are sent out to help quell the Nurgle corruption, there are so many Poxwalkers and they are so hard to kill that they can bring Space Marines down in not too long, just by wearing them down. Still, though, just the idea of your friends, family, just twisted into these grotesque abominations that was once humanity, just shambling towards you with these giant grins. Like their entire face, almost their whole head, is in a twisted grin as they either moan, shuffle towards you, or just chant Nurgle's praise. I don't know which is more terrifying. They are the worst and most terrifying take on zombies I've ever seen. Alright, that kind of brings this to a end. I will do a chaos episode in general soon. This was relatively unscripted. I just wanted to rant about one of my favorite things in 40k, the poxwalkers. So this was a pretty, unscripted video. It was just kind of me ranting. Happy Halloween to everyone. Also, God bless all of you for getting me to 300 subscribers. I hope all of you have a blessed Halloween. Please make sure to like and subscribe. I want to get to 500. I can't believe that I was able to do this 7-part horror series. I had so much fun doing it. Unfortunately, though, not a single person was able to get, my contest where, if you guess the next faction I'll be covering, if you go into my comments and guess the next faction I'll be covering, I'll pin your comment and, give you a shout out in this video. But in the next video I upload in the series. So that does suck, but I would like to shout out Not God Howard. I've seen his comments a while. He comments a lot. They're always pretty positive. And, I've just noticed him a lot. So I would just like to say, thank you for being a big fan of the channel. And I hope you see this video. And I am just very happy. Halloween is my favorite holiday. And I've had so much fun doing this whole series. And I'm going to stop before I go on a little rant. God bless all of you. Have a happy Halloween. And I will catch you in the next one.